Hey, Twisted people and charmed lovers. It's your girl, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR. And I'm here with the woman, as I say, who always has made this possible because she made me possible. Karen Robinson, my mama. Say hello to my mama, y'all.
Hello.
Yeah, guys, this is a special day, and it's really just special because we didn't do this yesterday. So we are doing it today. So for those of you who are joining us in the live chat, thank you for joining us live since this is not our normal day. And for those of you in the replay, thanks so much for always checking in and giving comments. We love reading your theories. I still need to go back to the previous comment section. Just, things got crazy this weekend in terms of everything. And so in good ways, though, this time actually in decent ways. So, but yeah, things also got crazy on this episode of Charmed. Am I right, Ma? I mean, this episode 13, because that is what we are talking today. Hey, Venue fan.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us once again. I don't know if we're going to get our normal crew that we get here today because, normally we do it on Mondays, but we'll hold it down for all of you and, let us know your thoughts in the replay comment section as well as the live chat. So, Mom, what did you think of what were your overall thoughts of episode 13? And if you had to give this episode a grade, what grade would you give it?
I gave it an A because it was really good. This was a really good episode. I loved it. I loved how they started off and everything, and it kept me, glued to the TV. Really, trying to find, okay, what's going to happen next here. It was really good, and my overall, expectation was high. It was good.
Yeah, and let us know in the chat and also in the replay what your thoughts are in terms of a grade. Venue fan is saying a solid B+, and I have to agree. I actually, funny enough, I actually said after I finished the episode that I would give it an A. Hey, Bluewood Phoenix Rising, thanks for joining us in the chat. Right now we're talking about, hey, Jackson McNuggets, thanks for joining us, y'all. Right now we're talking about our overall thoughts and the grade of this episode. And for me, I actually, funny enough, y'all, and y'all know this is special because I actually said I would give this episode an A. And we know last episode, I was not feeling episode 12 and I was not kind of feeling episode 11. I haven't been feeling as hard these episodes leading up to episode 13. So I was really just happy. I was just so grateful, y'all. And maybe, in a pessimistic way, I could say maybe just the bar was low because the other episodes didn't, excite me as well. So this one just had to be kind of better than those in a way. But I would say that this episode was a solid A for me. I thought it had everything I kind of wanted. It had the hints of romance there, not the overt romance. We'll talk about that in a second because if we do remember, there was a bet, and I do believe Jackson McNuggets made the bet that Maggie and Jordan would kiss at the end of this episode, and it was a complete opposite Jackson McNuggets. I think we might have jinxed it, maybe, but we got to talk about that when we talk about ship talk. But I thought this episode had a good balance of the romance. It had a good balance of the drama. It had the funny moments there, and I think this is also an episode where everyone seemed pretty close to being in character, and it all really worked. I guess the only minus was that Harry, was sent away in the early parts of the episode. So maybe we'll see what went down next episode with that. But it was just an episode that just felt like it was cohesive. It felt like it actually was building to something, and we got a reveal. You were right in that regard, Mom. We'll talk about that in terms of the big bad, seemingly, who that turned out to be or is shaping up to be. And so I was, like you said, Mom, I was very much just intrigued the whole episode because I didn't know how they were going to fix this. I really honestly didn't know how they were going to prove that Abigail wasn't. And in the end, they kind of didn't prove it because the Perfecti still wanted to do what they wanted. But it was in a way where it was like, yeah, we don't know how this is going to go. And they could have made it cookie cutter. They could have made it so that they just kind of figured it out. And the Perfecti kind of was like, you're right, guys, in some like Hallmark Channel after school special kind of way. And it didn't go that route. So I was really just surprised with that. Blue Wolf Phoenix is saying in the chat that they would give it an A+. I agree, Blue Wolf Phoenix. They brought the drama. And I think that's what we were missing. We had dramatic moments this season. We really did, but they didn't mean anything. That's what was, and I was saying this last episode that I felt like I didn't know where this season was going. Things just were happening, but then they'd get redone. And it was like, well, what was the point of a whole 45 minutes of an episode if we were back at square one? And I felt like this was an episode where I felt like things actually moved forward, where I was like, oh, this is actually like progress. That's new. Jackson McNuggets is saying they tied some plot holes, like Abby telling Mel her mother was dead, and now we know Abby had her firepower since childhood. We knew that was an element of it as well. That's true. She did have some form of firepower as well, although there's a thing with Macy's powers as well. So we'll talk about that. The new fan is saying, I hesitate to give this episode an A until I see them using their powers like in episode 4. I love how their individual powers were used in combat. That too. Yes, Jackson, we have to talk about how we didn't get a kiss, Jackson, but we'll talk about that with Ship Talk. And Jackson, you're saying you give them an A+. Melania, thanks for joining us in the chat. Melania, you're saying, I liked how they tied the seasons together via flashback. That was a thing too. I think it was like, and I funny enough, I feel like they picked some of the better parts of the season and season 2 and things like that to really kind of highlight the things they got right in a way. And I agree with you, Melanie. I was happy that they did those flashbacks, that we got some kind of tie together because, and I know this thing, Ma, what do you think? I know that some people might not love this episode because they might feel like this episode was too, some people may say it was too Abby-centered. Now, what do you think about that? And let us know in the live chat and also in the replay. Do you think this episode was Abby-centered or what?
I didn't think.
And do you have a problem with that if it was?
No, I in a way I liked it. It was Abby-centered. In a way, you could say it was all about Abby because they was trying. In a sense, they was also trying to prove what the charm was. How like they asked, how do we prove her innocence? Mm-hmm. But then, like Maggie said, Jordan. See, it was mainly about Jordan because they wanted Jordan.
That was the catalyst, yeah.
Because Jordan didn't belong in where they was, but then with the Perfecti saying, "Oh, he accomplished," he was guilty as what? How what's the word for it?
Guilty as charged?
No, associate. You guilty as
aiding and abetting. Yeah.
So that's how they did it, but and that's when they told him. When they told him, you have to prove that she's innocent, and then we'll let her go. But see, we know how that went. Because even when I didn't understand, like when they put the justice thing up there.
Like what that thing? I thought that was kind of cute, actually. I'll say that was kind of cute. Although it was like, what is with these weird statues? They sent them to get to that statue to get the egg before, and then the statue for this. And I'm like, are these statues alive? Like, what is going on? Why is this a thing with them?
I was hoping for her to be alive. But then that's why I started saying, okay, the innocent went down. But then somehow they flipped it back.
Well, I think the statue had some kind of sentiment, like it seemed to be like, I don't know, magical or something. It was a little weird. I kind of like the weirdness of it, though. I like that they played the otherworldly thing with them a little bit. I kind of like that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I liked it too, but the sense of it was the justice part, But
did you answer my question about whether or not this was Abby-centered and if you were okay with it? Because you talked about some other stuff.
It was Abby-centered, and I liked it. Because
you like that it was Abby.
We got to know Abby. We got to see how she was growing up and how her mother was treating her. We got to know Abby.
Yeah, so you like that.
Yes. Because then everybody saw the real Abby, even though everybody was just trashing the poor girl, but we saw Abby.
Yeah. Let's see what the chat and let us know in the replay. 401 Felix. Yes, you are catching it live. Thank you so much for joining us in the live chat. 401 is saying, I don't know how I feel about some things. Them using the power of 3 seems weird. I'd give it a B plus. Let us know, Felix. What do you mean when you say it was weird? Do you feel like it was out of nowhere? I would say I was happy to see them use the power of 3 because we rarely get to see that. Although, like also was pointed out, it's nice to see them use their individual powers, which we haven't really seen that a lot. They've been using more potions and stuff this season, and it's like, aren't y'all real powerful beings? Like, can't we use some of that? So I don't know. But I also know some people last season wanted them to use more potions and kind of witchcraft work. So can't please everybody. I guess that's a little bit of it too. Some people wanted them to use more potions, but now I feel like the writers went the total opposite. And was like, oh, we get, like, why can't we get both in that regard? Yeah, thanks for joining us, Damie. Thanks so much for joining us in the live chat. Damie is saying, yes, it was too Abby-centered. Although Damie is also saying that they give it an A minus. Although, I mean, the minus, I'm guessing because the allergy is still there. Yes. Edward, thanks for joining us in the chat. Edward is saying A plus, great tying things together as I have been hoping for Mel and Abby, as the writers have been teasing for over a season. Yes, we have to talk about that in Ship Talk because y'all know I got to talk about that in Ship Talk because I think all of us had a little bit of right and wrongs going on. I think I was vindicated. I was validated with Ship Talk, and we'll talk about that. Yeah, Boo was saying they said that they were Jordan was bringing chaos and things like that. Damien is saying, yes, I was happy to see the power of 3. Yeah, and as others are saying, Venu included, that when it comes to this being Abby-centered, I think Abby was a catalyst more than the centering of this. This wasn't so much like nothing else was going on for the sisters. I think this kind of helped move the plot along. It gave us the thing with the Perfecti, and where they really are, and it kind of exposed their way of thinking and how rigid that is. And we got a little glimpse of that. So I like that. I call this that I feel like it wasn't necessarily Abby-centered in the sense that everything else paused and we just got Abby. Yeah, I feel like Abby helped the catalyst of some stuff. She helped the catalyst of Maggie and the Jordan situation. She helped the catalyst of whatever it is that's going to be with her and Mel. She helped the situation of Macy. Yes. And Macy's demon powers, which we also have to talk about. And I'm glad they finally addressed in some way. So things were used. I think Abby's plot line was used in that same vein. We did get to know her better. We did get to get another sense of another layer of who Abby is. Was it a redemption arc? I think it was a little bit of a redemption arc, but I know some people don't feel like Abby deserves a redemption arc, but I will say whether she deserves it or not, I think it was well written. I think they did it enough. They balanced it out enough and saying this person isn't perfect. She isn't even necessarily a good person, but aren't we all layered? Aren't we all complex? Don't we all as beings have chaos within us? And that challenged the Perfecti. And it also challenges, what we say, what people say when they talk about what's a good character, what's a bad character. I tend to like gray characters. And we can talk about that a little bit with Macy as well, where I feel like sometimes with certain characters, they put them in this box of only good, only good, only good. And then it's like they're not allowed to have a gray area. They're not allowed to have the selfishness sometimes. They're not allowed to be a little centered, a little angry and things like that. And I think with Abigail, they've allowed her to do that. If only they'd allow the other sisters to do that sometimes. Yeah, that would have been better. But it's fine. It shows that Abby was that. And yes, Damie, I agree. Abby's mom is worse than Alistair. And we got to talk about Abby's mom. Yeah, that is definitely a thing. Felix is explaining to my question. I like the power of 3 stuff, but I don't know. Did they ever explain the power of 3 or the ability to just shoot energy? Is in the original, the power of 3 spell was something they had to discover. Okay. Yeah, let us know in the chat and your thoughts on that, on the power of 3, on the energy that they use. I felt like it was kind of the culmination of their energy, right? And how powerful that can be. Although usually I do believe
bond of sisterhood.
Yeah, I feel like in season 1 they did have to say something specific in order for it to happen. Although nowadays it seems like they just kind of look at each other and then like focus all their energy on one being and it comes together. So, yeah. So Shamar is actually answering. They actually did shoot energy in the OG charm when they performed Power of 3 spells, especially towards the later seasons. Blue Wolf is saying the Perfecti are the very definition of chaos. So shouldn't they be locked up in the tomb of chaos? That's very true.
George, we're on television,
Yeah, so that's my father in the background, y'all, talking to my mom.
I'm sorry, I didn't
know. Hi, Dad.
Hi.
Okay. All right. So we got that going on. Okay. So let's dig into the things that actually happened this episode. So it's kind of a very central episode, which isn't going to be hard to talk about because it was very centrally focused. It was the thing of the trial. Maggie discovers that they're in the Tomb of Chaos. They confront the Perfecti, and then they are basically told by the Perfecti that Abigail came, like we all thought, that because Abigail came to the house in her demon form, the Perfecti got a sense of her and decided to throw her in the Tomb of Chaos to protect the Charmed Ones. And because Jordan just happened to be there helping Abby in something, he was also thrown in there, guilty by association. And so, they get a mirror and basically they're saying they deserve a trial. And then the idea is that they have to kind of prove Abigail's innocence. And if they're able to prove the condition is if they're able to prove Abigail's innocence, they then also get to get Jordan out. So that begins the trial. And so there's the tribulation. They're trying to get witnesses. They can't seem to get any witnesses. They don't get Abigail's sister, which we kind of find out why, because Abigail's sister, Waverly, was basically scarred for life. And by Abigail, not on purpose, but she was scarred for life. So that may be an interesting aspect of it. So let's take it in pieces. Let's take it first, I think, from the fact that Abigail, and we'll talk about Jordan too, the fact that Abigail didn't want to be saved at first. And she didn't lose her mind because she kind of just accepted that's where she needed to be, baking cookies and things like that in her apartment or her penthouse suite.
Weird seeing her bake cookies
by herself. It made me kind of hungry. I was kind of hungry. I was like, oh my gosh, all this food. I want some. And then, Maggie went off to go talk to Jordan. Mel went off to talk to Abigail. What did you think of that conversation? And let's talk about, what did you all think of Macy's resistance to helping Abigail? Because Macy seemed kind of like the one, they made her kind of very much just like not okay with any of it. Even with, I feel like towards the middle, they made it more pronounced that she was doing this for Jordan. But at first I kind of felt like even in the beginning, she was like, well, how are we going to do that? And it seemed a little weird because her and Jordan really bonded a couple episodes back in one of the other better episodes when they were stuck, when Josefina had put them in that realm. And it was kind of weird to me that she wasn't more adamant about doing whatever she needed to do to get Jordan out. So what did you think of that, Mom? What did you think about them kind of playing it so Macy was a little bit of the foil or a little hostile in the situation?
Even though she said that ship sailed, I still think she had kind of resentment towards her with Harry. I think, in a way, I that's how I felt. That's where that was coming from. And she didn't trust her after certain things that she had done to her,
Mm-hmm. So do you think it stems from the Harry situation, why Abigail is so, why Macy was in the beginning so hostile towards the idea of helping?
I think so. Also, when she first met her, everything, she thought they was bonding and everything. Then she betrayed her. In a sense, that's how she felt. So she really didn't see no good in, how was she going to prove that Abby deserved a chance? So to me, I think it's stemmed from Harry, and she just still had that feeling there. Way,
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, I don't know, it was weird. I feel like they, usually it's Mel that's kind of the very rigid aggressor in those situations, kind of like there's nothing we can do, kind of a thing. And they kind of made Macy that. And usually Macy's a little bit more sacrificing for the greater good type. And I feel like for me, out of this episode, Macy was like the only one who, at least in the beginning, towards the middle and the end, she kind of came into being more, herself. But I felt like in the beginning, she was a little out of character because I felt like they really, it's like, okay, she's always had issues with Abigail. She wanted to vanquish her because everything that happened. And I do agree with you. I do think a lot of that energy was stemming from the Harry situation a little bit more than others, because she's also dealt with other people who have been evil and things. But she seemed very adamant about like, okay, well, Abigail deserves it. And it was kind of like, well, Jordan's connected, Macy. You should be, maybe you, I don't know. I just felt like it was weird that she was still kind of harboring this kind. I don't know. I guess I was looking at it from Maggie's perspective, because it's kind of like if the tables were turned and Harry had gotten thrown in there, right? And let's say it was Maggie that had issues with Abigail because maybe in another season Abigail kissed Jordan, which wouldn't happen. But let us say that happened. And then Macy wants to get Harry out. And then you have Maggie being like, well, you can't really do that because Abigail is just who she is. I feel like if that was Macy trying to get Harry out, she'd be like, that's not really helping this situation. I feel like someone would have told her, you're not helping this situation. We know you don't like her. We need to get my man out, kind of thing. And I felt like Macy just wasn't being as helpful in the very beginning.
Yeah, because when they took the sip and everything, they all both went to see. She went to see Jordan. But when they came back, when Mel came back,
mm-hmm.
and and she was telling her that shit, and then Macy said, "Well, we're going to talk about." She said, "I'm going to."
Yeah, like, well, she wants force. I'm going to give her force. I don't know what she thought she was going to do.
That's what
necessarily. It's just like Macy wasn't being very logical. And it was like, if the ship has sailed, as she told her, and you're not on it, which I liked. I love that she said it. And it's true. The ship has sailed. Harry's not thinking about Abigail. It's like, whatever. But it's kind of like, if that's the case, why are you this hostile about this situation?
And she felt it. She might have said it's but it still got, it have painful,
Yeah. Jackson McDonald is saying, I agree. Macy was just frustrated because Harry had a thing with Abby. Damien saying, I think Macy dislikes Abby because she feels responsible for Abby's presence in their lives. She's the one who recruited her, and Abby stabbed her in the back and tried to kill her. So she still doesn't trust her. I agree with you, Damien. I do think there's a little bit of that, and maybe Macy feeling like I was the first to trust you. I was the first to bring you to my sisters and our life, and you just kind of trampled all over that. And I can understand that a little bit. I just was kind of wondering how usually she's the logical one, and how she couldn't put that aside to understand why Maggie was really just kind of like, listen, I need to get Jordan out. Had that been Harry in this situation, I just wonder where, you know what I mean? If it would have been the same. And she seemed a little bit hypocritical on that regard, or not really seeing it from all ends. But once again, we're all great characters. Macy's not perfect. Maybe this was her moment of not being necessarily perfect. Vinu fan is saying, I think Macy has gone through a lot of this already. Her circumstances are pushing her to the brink, and her source of comfort, Harry, she can't touch. Yeah, and that's the thing, too. They've kind of had Macy be on edge this whole entire season. I don't know if I love that. I don't know if I love that she's just really like they just have her really just kind of grumpy most of this season, except when she's with Harry. And that seems a little weird that she's as grumpy, and she can't seem to kind of not be grumpy unless Harry's around. I don't know if I like that. Ma, what do you think? Do you think they've had Macy be a little angry most of the season as compared to her sisters?
No, well, she shouldn't have been too angry. She got to do it with, that should have satisfied her for the time when her and Harry was together.
Yeah.
She wasn't that angry. I don't know. I don't think she was that angry, but I think she was mostly frustrated because she was trying to find spells to get rid of the
Yeah, I think the allergies has stressed her
Yeah,
out a lot. It's just weird that I
yeah.
guess I'm saying for the writers, they're not. I think all three of the sisters are frustrated, but for some reason they
It's
made it
more,
so
it's more,
Macy
more
is the
Macy.
more pronounced frustrated
Yeah.
one. And it's like, well, Mel would be just as frustrated. She's not touching Ruby. Maggie, not so much with her, but Mel. And it's just kind of like, you know, but they're really focusing on Macy being kind of, I don't want to say hostile, but just like angry in general about stuff and snapping at people in general. So it's like, it's a little weird because that's really not just, that's not kind of who Macy is in a way. At least she hadn't been that way in the first 2 seasons. She's usually the very sweet one who's kind of like dorky. So it's weird that they've kind of made her kind of like whatever kind of with people. Shamara is saying, I kind of get Macy's frustration and reluctance, but I think after the court scene, she saw a side of Abby she'll never forget. So she might change her ways. Agreed. Edward has a good point. Macy has no reason to trust Abby fully because of Harry and now her demon half being stolen her own. Although we gotta talk about that whole thing. I got some thoughts on that with how Macy was acting like kind of brand new with that. But yeah, Felix saying, oh yeah, what was that cupcake baking fantasy? Abby was in a whole fantasy for Mel, but that was not the case for Macy. Thought that was great, right? Like she came in and like Abigail was baking and like, oh, you know, your simple yet efficient hairstyle. Like she gave her a compliment. She gave Mel a compliment on her hair and everything. And then with Macy, she's just sitting there like, no. Anyway, you know, it was kind of funny that she was kind of doing the domestic scene with it. Venu fan is saying Mel does have comfort in teaching, like in season 1. Macy doesn't have her partner or her second love, science. That's true. That's true. Maybe she needs to get back into science. I mean, I think we're past the point of that now, but you know, that could have been something they allowed her to do this season, kind of get back to the lab or, you know, jump more into safe space. But for whatever reason, they kind of made her focus all about the frustration of not touching Harry. So, yeah. So that was Macy's kind of reluctance. And then we have Abigail's reluctance because she kind of just believes, she's kind of accepted that she belongs there. And, you know, that was kind of heartbreaking. And we saw that she really dealt with, we saw in this episode, she dealt with abuse. It was child abuse, what she dealt with. Her mom putting shocking cuffs on her and things like that. And it was, I mean, now you can't use that excuse necessarily because there are plenty of people who go through hardships when they're young and they don't turn into people that murder witches and stuff. But, you know, there are people who do. In this case, it was Abigail. So I felt like I did feel for her more. Do you feel like at the end of this episode, Ma, that Abigail was redeemed or at least very much on the path of redemption?
I think she was on the path of redemption because she's, you know, she's trying to find a way there. Because she even told Macy that she would try to help her try to give back her demon powers. And you know, but see, I don't think I was hoping that they was gonna let her see Jordan. You know,
you thought they were gonna let Abigail see Jordan?
Yes.
Yeah, they are friends.
Yeah. You know, both of them. I mean, especially when they told her Jordan was there with her. And she's like, you know, but they had to put truth syrup in her cup to make her tell the truth.
Yeah. Although she did say she's like, no matter what I do, it's kind of no hope in a way.
About it.
Yeah. And Damien, I agree with you. Abigail's mom should be the big bad for next season. I'd totally be here for that because, oh my gosh, she was cold-blooded. But we'll talk about that in a second. And so we had Mel there. Mel was kind of the voice of reason, funny enough. And I think we'll talk about it with Ship Talk, but I think it wasn't just any kind of weird underlying feelings, but it was also like she did bond with Abigail to a certain degree. So she was like, you know, we can figure this out. There's some good in you, even though she did say, you know, you're irredeemable. She kind of took it back, which I think she saw that she needed to. Mm-hmm. And so we had this whole trial that was going on. And we also had Jordan in the midst of this, who had pretty much kind of lost his mind that we saw. And so that was heartbreaking to see. I felt for Jordan so much this whole episode, y'all. Did you, I was just like, why are they doing my boy Jordan like this? He has been nothing but great, and he keeps getting the short end of the stick with these situations. And he, he had this, and we got a little glimpse of his home life when he was a kid, dealing with his father, saying dad was so mad, does he not love me anymore? So there were some things with that, and I was just, oh my gosh, poor Jordan. Poor Jordan. What did you think about Jordan's role? Did you think that we should have saw a little bit more of him this episode, or do you think they did the right kind of balance in making it so he was a little bit in the backdrop and it was a little bit more focused on Abigail's situation?
Well, I like how they did it. He was like you said, he was in the backdrop, and Abby was a man, there. But we saw what he was going through as a human and all that. Because they didn't offer, because she kept telling him, look at the things, not the color that, the emergency bag,
Yeah.
They had that blue. So she said she had, and Maggie had to make him see that. And that's when he realized who he,
Yeah.
So I did feel sorry for him. Then my man looked at like whack. I said, oh.
Yeah, his hair was it's usually so perfect.
Yeah. Everything.
And, yeah.
But then especially when he called, yeah, I know you. You're my girl.
Trish. You Trish. He's like, what?
Oh God, that was a good one.
Yeah, those of you who I'm highlighting in the chat felt the same way about our poor Jordan. And we'll talk about him leaving in a second and what Colorado in a second. And so, what ended up happening was, Abigail gets put on trial, and we see what we kind of figured. She was like, I'm looking for, some kind of like validation, things like that. She kind of ends up telling the truth, kind of revealing herself. And like others have said, Macy kind of saw what that was in a way different than what she saw before. And we'll talk about in Ship Talk what she revealed about her and Mel and things. And it's interesting because in the end, we saw that statue, which some of you said was creepy. It eventually said that she was innocent because Maggie came through with the great skill of posing it. And as all of them agreed, that everything is chaotic. There's nothing that is not chaotic. The charm ones are chaotic. And they said, like, you, the Perfecti, are chaotic because you literally made the mistake of putting Jordan in the tomb of chaos and didn't really do your due diligence in figuring out that he wasn't there to do evil with Abigail. He was there to bind her powers from being a demon. And so, of course, the Perfecti, who think they are the perfect ones, did not like that. And what they were about to do was basically throw Jordan back in the tomb of chaos. And then we got the power of three that they basically disappeared. And we, of course, knew they didn't vanquish them.
Yes.
But what ended up happening was they come back, they get the tablet, and Mo is kind of like, do you think this is what we really need to do? And I forgot her name. It's Mo and what's the other one's name? But his partner is like, yes, we have to vanquish the charm ones like we did in the past.
Yes.
And it was like, what is this? And and let's talk about that for a second. So, Ma, you were right in the sense of, and others who had agreed and said that they figured that the Perfecti would be the big bad in a way. Do I love the fact that the Perfecti are shaping up to be the big bad? I don't love it or hate it. I like Mo a lot. I kind of want to keep him around in good sense, but I do still think it's predictable, but because we all kind of saw it coming with the way they were acting about things. So I do think that was predictable, but I am kind of glad that they're revealing it in episode 13, which means we'll get a good next half of the season of dealing with this, as opposed to it being revealed like with only 2 to 3 episodes left, and then there's a mid episode and they vanquish them or something like that. So I like that. Do you like the fact that you were right? I mean, of course you love the fact that you were right, but do you now that you think about the fact, and let us know in the chat, y'all, and also in the replay, do you like the fact that it looks like the Perfecti are the big bad of this season, or were you hoping for different? What do you think, Ma?
Well, I figured they was just too willing to help the charm ones and not have nothing in it for them. See, that's why I'm like, they're not asking questions of them. They're taking their word for it, and they, like, when they tell them, like, they don't make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just figured, nah, something ain't right there. Something is not right there. I'm so glad I was right.
But what do you think the rest of the season's gonna look like, though? Now that the Perfecti are shaping up to vanquish the Charmed ones.
Yeah, but they shaping up doesn't mean they're gonna do it. But this is where Harry is supposed to come in at, in a sense. That's how I see
it. Mm-hmm. Okay, Aladria. Thank you, Damie. Thank you, Jed Young. It's Aladria. Okay, Aladria. Yeah, I think I don't mind that they turned out to be big. I think it'll be interesting because they're not the Perfecti are not inherently evil. What they are working with is their kind of logic of how things should go. Yeah. And that in turn is making them act. So it'll be interesting on if they need to be vanquished or if they just really need to be convinced that they are wrong. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And it's also going to be interesting to see what they do to vanquish the Charmed ones. But this is where it comes in at, where this was what I was bringing up a couple of episodes ago, or maybe it was last episode, maybe it's every episode I was bringing it up. Why haven't the Charmed ones asked anybody else about these Perfecti people? Like, it's very clear. True. Like, it's very, what'd you say?
I said, true, you're right.
It's like, why is it, like, when the Perfecti came about, I get it, they're ancient magic or whatever like that, but how is it that they never asked anybody about these Perfecti? Like, wouldn't it be known that the Perfecti were the ones, like Celeste? I mean, Harry, why didn't
Harry bring it up?
We'll talk about this in a second, too. But the fact that we hadn't heard Celeste's name in any of this stuff about the Perfecti, and then suddenly we hear Celeste's name and helping Harry turn human, which is what I brought up last episode. I was like, well, can't Celeste help him do that? Why he got to go to the Perfecti? And then suddenly, I got to go to my final thing with Celeste. Why hasn't Celeste been consulted about the Perfecti? You get what I'm saying? And it's like, if there's a history of the Charmed one, because we saw there's a history of them. They have records of who the Charmed ones were. How is it that no one else knew that some other beings, the Perfecti, had somehow vanquished the Charmed ones before? Is that a plot hole? Is that a secret history no one talked about? Did the Perfecti kind of, secretly do it and so no one knew it was them? I just find it weird that there was never a consulting about these almost omnipotent beings, and that the Charmed ones never thought to kind of do more research on who they were once they got their names. And so now it's like, let's have them on trial. They do the Tomb of Chaos. And I feel like this could have been, of course they needed a season, so it couldn't be avoided, but I felt like they were too trusting. From the get-go, they were too trusting with the Perfecti. And it just seemed kind of like it was kind of contrived so we would get to this moment. Let me know, do y'all think I'm kind of, off in this, or do you agree? Let me know in the chat and also in the replay. Because I just feel like it was like they should have been more cautious. They should have asked Celeste earlier, and they still haven't. But Celeste should have came into play sooner than this.
And can't they feel when things?
Can't what, Mom?
Can't they feel the vibrations or whatever? Especially Celeste.
I don't know. Venu fan is saying, I like having a big bad that isn't evil. They're just blind to the context and their own faults. I think that's going to be an interesting concept for them. Jackson McNugget is saying, I love the Perfecti's big bad. Just wondering how they're going to defeat them. Blue Wolf is saying, yes, I'm glad. Never trust anybody who has the word perfect in their name. That's very true, because it's like, why do they think they're perfect? Damien's like, I'm all right with them being the big bad. I knew it from the last episode, but I still like Mo. Don't care. I like Mo too. And I'm like, if Mo gets defeated, are we going to lose Mo? I don't want to lose Mo. Edward is saying, I figured it would be them. They were way too powerful, and the line that they removed the charm one being for is telling. Venu fan is Mo reminds me of Obama. Maybe that's why I like him. I don't know. You might be right, Venu fan. Boo Wolf is saying the charm ones will get them to see the error of their ways. Maybe that could be how they do it. Liliana is saying, I'm here for the tea on the newest episode. Since the podcast I was watching abruptly ended. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Liliana. Thanks for joining us in the live chat. Damien is saying the Perfecti are a different kind of big bad, and I like it. Yeah, because they're not inherently evil. They're not like world domination. They really just want what they consider order.
Yes.
But the question is, what is order when you think everyone is chaotic, right? And I will say, y'all, I am very happy that this season is not a demon, because that's what we've kind of had. We've kind of had a demon, and then we had last season or into this season, it was sort of like people who hated demons, and it was all about the demons and the magical creatures. So it's interesting that this is a big bad that is kind of above all of that. And so I think that's going to be an interesting concept. Jackson is saying the Perfecti are very old beings predating written language. So I don't think Celeste would know much about them. And they have been in slumber till the charm ones broke the tombs open. That's true, Jackson. I agree with you. But if they had vanquished the other charmed ones, wouldn't that be on record somehow? Yeah. Now, either this is just weird kind of writing and it's not being made clear, or I'm not sure. Because if I want to know who were the very first charm ones. Maybe this is what we were all kind of hoping that we would see in the beginning, right? When we first saw that they were going in different dimensions, I had said, I was like, wouldn't it be so cool if they got to know like the charm ones from like decades and eons before, like the very first charm ones or something like that? That would have been interesting. And maybe this is giving us a chance to see old charm ones, because maybe they might have to connect with the old charm ones to figure out what happened with the Perfecti. Maybe that might be their only source, but it's like, exactly. So, it might come. Well, let's talk about that in predictions, because I kind of have a prediction about how they can find out about all of that. But, and then we got Jordan leaving. And we have to talk about that a little bit more in the ship talk, what it means for him and Maggie. But I want to talk about that as him as a character. It's interesting because a lot of people through the grapevine and rumors and things like that was figuring that Abigail's character would be leaving. And maybe, maybe the actress might still be gone. I haven't heard anything official on that. So I still think that's kind of a rumor, maybe just wishful thinking on some people's parts. But who ended up leaving this episode was Jordan. I do not think Jordan is completely gone. I do see him returning. I'm pretty sure maybe the actor just had something else he needed to do, because he's probably a hot commodity. He did get his start on Broadway. Maybe he had some other stuff, or maybe just want to take a break. But what did you think about that, Ma? Did you think that he was going to leave at the end of the episode? And do you think that he should have left?
I knew he was going. After that ordeal, I think he like you said, he needed to step back for a while. And I understood that. I saw, I felt that. I said, yeah, I felt that. But I felt kind of bad too. Maggie should have spoke first and told her how she felt. And
yeah, we'll talk about that in ship talk. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But anyway, I figured he was going to leave, take some time away from, I knew.
He was in. Who knows how long he thought he was in that prison?
Yeah, I know.
To him, it could have been years.
Back after that, after what happened to him, I told him he's gonna step back. He's gonna, he's gonna step back and say, I gotta leave for a while. You and your sister. He have to deal with this now. He have to try to come to terms with it on him, on how he feel about everything now. Since that happened to him, I'm sure that he saw a lot of things. He felt a lot of things at that moment too. So, but when he was telling there's a nice color, I said he's gonna leave.
What would be funny is if he goes to Colorado and has to deal with some type of magic problem. And then he has to call the charm ones anyway. Like, oh my gosh, I can't get out of it. Yeah, I agree with you. I think this was leading up to him needing a break, because, I did kind of wonder with everything that Jordan had gone through, when was going to be the breaking point, because it was like, okay, when is it going to be to the point where he's going to be like, okay, I need to take a little moment here because this is a lot, and I think that was realistic. I didn't want to see him go because I love Jordan so much, but I kind of was like, this is necessary because this was a lot by proxy because of what he got involved in. Now, with Abigail, though, she made a decision that she was going to atone for her transgressions. Yeah. What did you think about that? Do you think that she's and let's talk about that when it comes to Macy's powers, because she told Macy, I got something of yours that belongs to you and I want to give it back to you.
She says she'll find a way to give it back.
She'll find a way to give it back to her somehow. I don't know why she doesn't know how to do that, because didn't she extract the powers before? But okay, maybe it has to be another special thing because I don't know. What did you think about that?
Oh, well, Abby is going to talk, but I figured they should have let her see Jordan. Somehow Jordan and her she should have ended up seeing Jordan before he left, or either
to be like, I'm sorry this happened to you.
Yeah, have a moment with Jordan, but they didn't.
That's her friend. That's her actual friend.
He's the go-to. I mean, that should have been the moment when the tone to anyway was Jordan, because he liked her even before Chalmers didn't like her. He had her back, like he said, I have your back. He had her back.
Yeah. And, let us know in the chat, y'all. Do you think Abigail has truly turned a new leaf? Do you think, and let us know in the replay, do you think Abigail has truly turned a new leaf? Do you think this is going to be her kind of really trying to be a do-gooder in her own Abigail way? I don't think they're going to completely make her totally nice. And I would hate that if they did. But in her own Abigail way, do you think she's totally turned? I actually do think she has. And I think this is going to be another if they play this right, this could be very interesting. Her kind of not begrudgingly, wanting to, but still being who she is, kind of making atonement. Now let's talk about this thing with Macy's powers, y'all, because this was something that kept getting brought up, right? So many of us were bringing it up. So many of us had issues. First and foremost, I had issues with the fact that Macy gave up her powers. And funny enough, when she gave up her powers, we found out that her giving up her demon powers actually had nothing to do with why she couldn't connect with the power of 3. So it was for nothing. She didn't actually have to give up her demon powers, but she was made to, she thought for a second that she did. And once it was revealed that that wasn't what was standing in the way of power of 3, she never got it back. And yes, Abigail used the powers. She absorbed the powers. But this is the thing. Macy gave them up. What did Macy think was going to happen to her powers? Did she think Abigail was just going to keep them in a safe place? Did she think Abigail was going to get rid of them somehow? What if Abigail had sold them to somebody? You get what I'm saying? Like, I just didn't understand why it was made to be that Macy was so angry about that. Did you think that it was justified, Mom, that she was kind of like, you stole my powers, when she literally gave them to her?
I don't think she stole. Well, I'm kind of confused on that one myself. But she can't accuse her of stealing. She wanted it gone. So how can you get mad at her for that? She took something that you didn't want no more. But I guess you felt like, you took it, but you put it on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, well, there's that tell you too. But I took your power away from that you didn't want. Doesn't mean, why should I give it to somebody else if I can take it?
Yeah. And so it was weird to me that it was made to be kind of this thing of like, and I do agree. I mean, I guess Abigail could have asked her, but it was kind of like, did she have to ask her? I don't know.
You gave it up. Why should it's not yours no more?
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us in the chat. Natone is saying, don't like how the writers paint Macy. Letizia is saying, why is everyone hating on Macy? I don't know if it's hate. I think it's the way the writers kind of made it, kind of this thing of like, she seemed angry. It's like, you took something from me when you took my powers and you used them. It was kind of like, why are you angry about that? I mean, of course she wasn't super angry, because by then I do think Macy did decide that she was like, okay, it's okay. But I do think it was a little bit of like kind of angry at it. And it was like, what did you think was going to happen to your demon powers when you gave them to a demon overlord? You know what I mean? Like, what did you think she was going to do? I want Macy to get her demon powers back. I liked that Macy had demon powers. I think, as others have said before, I feel like they took some plot lines from Macy and gave them to Abigail. And they also did things where it was like they were, they took certain elements of Macy's plot. And it was like, why do that when Macy could have gotten this complexity? You know, Macy could have been the one kind of dealing with her demon side and kind of going through these things and stuff like that. And it was like, it's like, well, you know, why they took it from Macy and now Macy doesn't have that. I want her to get them back, to be honest. And I think the writers were too quick to get rid of her demon side, to be honest. Jackson is saying, I still like Grumpy Macy. I don't mind the writers showing them as real people. Edward is saying, Macy figured that her demon powers would just vanish. Maybe, I guess that's what she thought, but is that what she thought? I don't know. I just felt like it was weird that she cared where they went if she was willing to just kind of give them up, you know. Damien is saying Macy didn't want to give up her powers, though. She just did because she thought it was standing in the way of her getting the witch powers. No, I agree with you, Damien. That's what I said. I'm like, you know, she gave them up because she said it stood in the way of her getting the thing. But then we found out that wasn't what it was. So it was kind of like, I felt like, and this is on the writers. I didn't feel like this was Macy's character's problem, but this was on the writers where it was like, did they just create that plot hole to get rid of Macy's demon side? And I feel like they kind of did. And it was kind of like, what, did y'all not feel like writing that for her anymore? So you decided to just get rid of it? And then you gave it to Abigail, the whole demon versus witch side. And I was like, what's that about? You know? Let me see. Blue Wolf is saying Abigail stole Macy's power because those fire powers are something that demons coveted. It's a special power.
She had fire power when she was little.
She did. She had some kind of fire power. She had some type of energy power. It might not have been straight up fire. I'm not sure. That's what the mom said, that she burned her sister. But I don't know if it was through fire or if it was just like demon energy. I'm not sure. Blue Wolf is saying, let's not forget about Macy's demon sight. That too. Did we ever have we gotten her using her demon sight past season 1? I felt like I didn't see it at all in the next season 2. And I feel like that was something in season 1 and they kind of got rid of it. That Macy was able to see through the eyes of other demons and evil people and stuff. Did we see it? Because that was a great power, you know? It was certain, like I said, I just love the idea of Macy's demon side and exploring that. And I was so annoyed when the writers just decided to take that away from her, you know? Natone is, you know, saying some interesting things. Don't believe the writers actually like TCOs because they don't know how to write women of color characters. I get the Sleepy Hollow vibe with the way the writers undercut women of color characters. With the charm ones, TCO. For those of you who don't know, whoever watched Sleepy Hollow, they did some to Nicole Beharie. Was the main character in that one. And the writers really did her dirty on Sleepy Hollow with the way they treated her character. And it really sucked to watch that go because that was a fave of mine. I don't think it's on that level yet, Natoni. I don't think we've gotten to that level of that. I don't think it's heading there necessarily, but I do think it's a bit uneven. I would agree that there's some unevenness going on there. Do I think it's heading to Sleepy Hollow? I don't think it could. I think it would be very hard to do that, but I do see your concern because we see it too much sometimes with shows where there's women of color who are the lead and a feeling that some of the women of color are kind of pushed to the side for characters who are not of color. So, Liliana is pointing out, is it really stilling in terms of Macy's power when someone throws it out though? I think that's a very, that's a good point right there. Letizia is saying Abby kept Macy's and Parker's demon power so she could be more powerful. That's true. She did. But I mean,
she was honest about it.
It was. I mean, and you know, honestly, Abigail said it. She was like, "You act like." You know, like, did you not figure I would do that? Did you think I just let them go into the ether? You know?
Really?
Yeah. So I'm just, y'all, the chat is moving. So if I don't highlight everything, it's not that I'm skipping over. I just want to make sure I get kind of the gist of it or whatnot that everyone's saying. Damie is saying her sister stopped her from using the evil sight. Okay. Jackson is saying Macy's evil sight is no longer needed. They found a spell in the Book of Elders that did exactly that. They used it to see when Jordan's ring was about the experiments of faction and finding the tablet. Yeah, I mean, what basically happened is the writers made it so they didn't have to use it anymore. I still think it was a pretty cool power to have. So, Blue Wolf is saying, yes, it's stilling in terms of Macy's power. Abigail never told her that she was going to use Macy's powers for herself. Okay, I don't know. Let us know, y'all. Let us know. There seems to be a debate going on in the chat. Do y'all think that Abigail stole Macy's powers? Let us know in the chat and also in the replay. Ma, do you think it was stealing, Ma?
No, you gave it up. So whatever you gave up is no longer yours. So whatever's up and grabbed, she grabbed it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I don't think, because it's like me helping someone move a couch out of their apartment, right? They want to put the couch in the let's say, for example, someone wants to move a couch out of the apartment. They want to throw it in the trash in the dump, and I'm like, all right, you sure you want to do that? It's a really good couch, and they're like, no, I don't want this couch anymore. I can't have the couch. And let's say I help them move the couch, but instead of throwing it in the dumpster like they figured I would, I took it home and I put it in my living room. And let's say the person then comes over my house one day. Maybe we're not even friends anymore, but they come over my house and they're like, that's my couch. You can't take my couch. And what if I say straight up, but you were going to throw it in the dumpster? Yes, I helped you move it and I thought it was cute, so I put it in my living room. Now, can that person call me a thief?
I don't see how she can call you thief.
Y'all, let's think about it. Can the person call me a thief if they were going to throw it in the dumpster?
Hello, it was trash. So how they say one man trash is another man treasure.
Yeah. Natone is saying the whole debate whether Abby stole Macy's power, again, an example of poor writing, story development. I think that's true. I think there's two ways of thinking about this. I think there's a way of thinking about it within the story, and I think there's a way of thinking about it what the heck the writers were writing, right? So I agree with a lot of you on this, on the layers of how this can be confusing. Letizia is saying Charmed has officially completed filming season 3. All we can do is be patient and hope our questions will be answered. Macy has never said it was stealing. I don't see it that way either. Yeah. Edward is saying Abby knew she was going to use the powers the minute Macy asked for her help to remove them. That's very true. But that's like, once again, that's like me, someone taking someone's couch and being like, you sure you want to throw it in the dumpster? And the minute I see the couch, I could be thinking, this look good in my living room. You sure you want to throw this? And I don't tell them, but I'm like, hey, you want to throw this in the dumpster? All right. And I'm like, well, I'm going to put this in my living room. Like, you going to still call me a thief because I thought I was going to put it in my living room and I knew I was going to do that? I don't know. All right, so that's a debate. Let us know in the chat, y'all. But let's get to ship talk. We got to get to ship talk because there were some significant developments with ship talk. Although it may kind of switch over to the plot line and stuff too. So we got to talk about ship talk. Yeah, ship talk. All right. So first and foremost, Maggie and Jordan. Can Maggie and Jordan catch a break, y'all? Because I'm feeling like they can't, and I'm not liking this. I feel like, yes, Damie, we're doing ship talk because I just don't know. I like you said, Ma, you said something. Let's go back to it. You wanted Maggie to tell him her feelings even after he said he was leaving, and she didn't. What did you think about that?
I think she should have went first because I knew Jordan. I would have just. She should have just jumped in right then and there and told him how she felt and everything. Because then, in a way, but I think the writers wrote it like that. So she would speak second. Because I just felt like if she would have spoke first, he would have thought about it and said, okay, he would have just had a thinking part there. But then they didn't let her speak first. They let him speak first. And we knew that how that was going to go. Because then that's when she, she realized, she go, well, and then he tell me how you feel, what was you going to tell me? And she said, nothing, Well,
basically like, I'm sorry. And I hope
I'm sorry. I hope, and see,
yeah.
I knew that was going to happen.
Okay.
I'm disappointed in that.
Yeah, I was disappointed too. I at the screen, I was like, "Oh my gosh, you still need to tell him. Please tell him."
That's why I thought she was going to still tell him, but she didn't. I said, "Oh man!"
I'm like, "You still need to tell him." Now, I will say, y'all, I do understand why she didn't tell him. But before I talk about that, if you haven't already, please do give this video a thumbs up and a like, and also make sure you comment in the comment section, because engagement helps this get to other people to talk about the tea when it comes to Charmed and this season 3. So if you haven't already, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so, because we love talking here. And if you want to give a super chat donation, that is always appreciated when you do that. And I think, I feel like I understand why she didn't tell him, because I feel like she felt, in hearing him saying he needed to get away, maybe she felt like if she told him, that would make him feel compelled to stay. And she didn't want to be the reason for him to stay if he really felt like he needed a break.
I told him, you still can take a break, but I just wanted you to know how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I get that too. But writing, they need to give us some angst. And since they're not giving us so much angst with Macy these days, because they're together, we had enough angst with Macy in season 2. Now we get our angst when it comes to Maggie and Jordan. So I think that's what's really happening here. I still have hope for Georgie. I still have hope that Jordan and Maggie are going to end up together. And Jackson is saying Antonio better be a rebound and not in game. I hope he's not even a rebound, Jackson. I think that would be weird on Maggie's part to kind of realize she has feelings for Jordan and then still be okay with dating Antonio, knowing she didn't pick Antonio, that she picked Jordan. And so it's kind of like, okay, yeah, he went away, but he went away because of the crap that he was going through with this. That doesn't give a free pass to be like, okay, well, you're gone now. I did pick you, but I'll start dating someone else. I think that would just make it more complicated. And I really hope Maggie doesn't go that route.
Me too.
I hope she doesn't go that route. Damie is saying Maggie friend zoned him so hard. Now she lost him. I always knew she'd lose him if she didn't move fast. I agree with that, Damie, but I don't think she's completely lost Jordan, because I think Jordan still has strong feelings for her. I think he just needs to take a break. Blue Wolf is saying Maggie made me mad. She was supposed to take Jordan in her arms and tell him how much she needed him and loved him. I agree with you. And maybe we'll get that at the end of this season, because I'm going to be so annoyed if we do not, because that was so heartbreaking. When Maggie turned around and I saw her face crumble, I was like, just turn back around and tell him that you love him. Like, oh my God.
I'll be with you.
Venue fan is saying, I think Maggie has not had a healthy example of a relationship in her life, especially ones involving non-magical beings. Unfortunately, her hesitation came at a price. I agree. I just hope Jordan comes back. I hope this isn't going to be some kind of weird out of where they get her to date somebody else or something. I don't think they would build this up as much and give us this kind of angst, knowing all of us would be so like heartbroken about this, to not give us them in the end. So I still have hope, y'all. I still think there is hope for Georgie. I definitely think there's hope. Yeah. So I think that I have hope. I have hope for them, y'all. But that's what happened with them. Maggie waited a bit too long. Maybe if she had professed it earlier, I wanted her to say it, but I also understand why she didn't. All right. So then we have the ship I called. This is where I can say I was right, y'all. Mel and Abigail. Abigail admitted her deep feelings for Mel. So it wasn't just in our heads. She wasn't just aimlessly flirting with just about anybody. She has feelings for Mel. Now, Mel didn't actually address Abigail's feelings for her. I understand why. Because she's in a relationship. We just had her confess to her off-screen girlfriend, sometimes on-screen girlfriend Ruby, that she loves her, even though, once again, no Ruby this thing at all. What did you think about that, Mom? What did you think about Abigail confessing her feelings? Let us know. Who do y'all ship, y'all? Are you team Abigail and Mel? Or are you team Mel and Ruby? Let us know.
I knew Abby and Abby liked it on Mel, so that was kind of funny when she, when they were saying that how Abby liked Mel, and she was like, that whole expression, like, she was so.
She was so super. She was like,
yeah, well, she was so surprised about it.
It was so cute.
Yes, I said, okay. She said,
Yes.
I really like her. I said, okay, she told you the truth on that part.
Yes, Liliana. You no, I'm not. We're not giving you false hope. There was distinct, concrete Abigail content when Abby was given the potion of truth, and Maggie brought up, "Hey, you've saved Mel many times. So how would you do it?" And Abigail said, "Because I have deep feelings for Mel, and I realized that." If I want to have a chance for her to feel the same way I do, I need to be the person that she wants me to be.
Yes.
That was. I stopped. I was like, did I just get some real concrete Abigail content? Oh yes, I think I did. Oh yes, I think I did. And it was so good. It was so good. Yeah, it was so good. Letizia is pointing out about, Maggie has learned a lot from Jordan, and Venu fan, I agree with you, Venu. I do think Mel still wants Ruby, because wouldn't it be hard to want Abigail over Ruby in a way when Ruby's the good one? I mean, Abigail is still kind of, she hasn't completely been redeemed. It wouldn't be smart just yet, but I think they're setting up for the building of a relationship.
Yeah, she's not going to dump her like that, but somehow, like Abby said, she said she wanted, to show that she can be a good person, but she could be working on it. Relationships get slowly done.
I think this is a slow burn. I think it's a slow burn. I think maybe the writers felt like they needed to show the redemption of Abigail before they could let Mel and her start something, because I think it would be hard for Mel to be with Abigail if she thought Abigail was still very much a gray character. I don't think she'd give her the time of day in that regard. So I think maybe they had to make her be redeemable or redeemed so that Mel could maybe open herself up to the potential of that. Robert is saying Abigail, team Abigail. Edward is saying team Mel and Abby. Jackson saying, I've been hearing Poppy is leaving the show episode 17. She's either going to die or leave like Parker and Jordan. Yeah, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything concrete on that. So, I mean, let me know what source y'all all are hearing that from, because like I said, I haven't heard anything on that front. So I'm wondering if that may just be rumors, because it would seem kind of weird that they'd give us Abigail content like that if the actress was also just going to leave 3 episodes from now. So yeah, Abigail is one of my favorite characters. So Abigail, Letizia is saying, how would Abby and Mel work with Maggie and Macy not really wanting Abby in the same space 24/7? How would that work with Abby and her persistent behavior with Harry? I think Abigail's over Harry. I think that was a means to an end to a certain degree. I don't think she really is really, because even when she gave the honest answer about Harry, it wasn't like I have deep feelings for Harry. It was like, he's such a good guy.
Yeah.
That it seemed wrong that he would die. But with Mel, it was like, I had deep feelings for her. This is why I saved her. So I think the writers made a very distinct thing that even though she tried to bait Macy with it. I think that was just to bait Macy. I don't think it's because she really wants Harry. And at the same time, Mel's a grown woman. So if her and Abigail do hook up or get together, that's her choice, and maybe that would mean that Mel would be staying over at Abigail's house. But the 3 sisters live together now. That's honestly, if you think about it, that's not necessarily normal. They could also get their own homes. They all choose to live together, which is nice. But, usually people, even siblings, live apart. So,
But to be the Chalmers, they have to live together,
I guess. Blue Wolf is saying Mel needs to figure out who she wants. Yeah, Blue, you might be saying that might be the way that Poppy leaves, that they do in the same way Jordan did. Yeah, you're right. Free rent. That is one of the reasons to stay in the house they all own. That's very true and practical. Yeah, so I mean, I think we see I think we'll see with that, but I was glad that we got it. I was glad that we got it because I ship Abigail and Mel, and I just think I've been calling their chemistry since season 2, y'all. So I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. That I have been calling their chemistry. Even before Ruby came in the picture, I thought that Abigail and Mel had chemistry. And it was kind of weird to me that they threw Ruby in there. So I'm glad that that's a thing. So I just hope that if they made that distinction, that they actually do something about it. So we'll see. And finally, we have Harry and Macy. We got them a little bit in the beginning. It seems like Harry is still on this mission to get to be human. What do you think about that, Ma?
Well, I'm against him being human. I just get it. Why he want to be human?
Because he wants to grow old with Macy.
Well, he got time for it. When she start getting old, then you be human. Mm-hmm. That's how I see it. When she start growing her age, then you go, okay, I can be human now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's like 10 years younger than him. He could wait 10 years till she catches up.
I mean, for real? People don't know how to use their powers.
Right? You better get a serum to make y'all stay young or something. It just seems weird that that's not a thing.
I mean, really.
But I like that. I did think it was a little weird that they finally mentioned Celeste. Yeah. She hadn't been mentioned at all, but now she's there to help him. Yeah, so that was kind of weird to me. But he's still doing it. I am also team, I don't want Harry to become human. Let us know in the chat, y'all. Do you think this is the solution that Hasty needs in terms of being together, that somehow Harry needs to go human? I don't think they need to do that for them to be happy.
She agreed with it. Why?
Yeah. And I agree. And I've said the same thing, Letizia. I do also agree. I think Macy should also become immortal, and Harry. Yes. And that I think that's the smarter thing, especially when the world needs protecting. Why would one of you become mortal and give up your powers to help heal and other powers and things you have? It just seems not the smartest thing when you're supposed to be protecting the magical world.
He can't heal him.
Yeah. So I hope he stays a white lighter, and I guess we'll see as this season progresses if that's going to actually happen. I kind of hope it doesn't, but it was nice to get a little Harry and Macy before he went off. And I agree, Damie. I am team make Macy immortal and half demon. I make Macy immortal and half demon team. So I hope we get that. So it was nice to get those 3 ships. We got no mention of Ruby this episode, although we got an I love you or whatever. It's just so sporadic when it comes to Mel and Ruby. And that's why I say if they were serious about Mel and Ruby, I don't think they would have had Abigail make that confession. And I think that's really telling that they had Abigail make that confession about Mel if they were really serious about what they were doing with Mel and Ruby. So, yeah. So I agree, Damie. Harry chasing his mortality has consequences for sure. Okay, y'all. So finally, let's do some quick predictions as we wrap it up. What do you think is going to go down with the Perfecti, Ma, and some of the ships?
Let me see. With the they did show the coming episode, but putting what's her name, telling that her head will explode or whatever, and they're gonna put her in a coma. But somehow we're gonna find out why the Perfecti want the they're gonna prove that why the charms is more powerful than them. And so we're gonna find out why. We're going to find out that Harry might not give up his powers once he finds out what they're like, if Celeste can tell him certain things. And then they're also going to realize they don't have the tablet no more. And somehow Harry's going to understand that, because remember, the guy gave him 6 days to do that, to, be, again. So I thought it had something to do with the tablet. But also in the relationship form, Maggie's gonna be lonely for a while until Jordan come back. And Mel, I think she's gonna be thinking about what went down with
What Abigail said.
Yes.
That'd be funny.
Now Macy and Macy and Harry, just don't give up your powers. I'm hoping that he gives up his powers.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be. I think the next episode is gonna be kind of good. I'm praying that it do be good. You know, if they gave the same drama they gave this episode for the next episode, we're good.
Yeah, I agree with you. Some predictions in the chat. Letizia saying, I have a feeling Abby will sacrifice herself for Mel. I hope not. I think it would be kind of crazy if we had this whole thing for her and then she dies for Mel. I'm like, but then again, you might be right. I mean, they're kind of predictable on this show. So that might be a thing they do. Jackson is saying the whole thing with the reboot is that the Charmed Ones don't need men. They have the marble, so they don't need Harry to drive them. And they have so many healing potions. Robert is saying, calling it now, there will be a set of Charmed Ones trapped in the Tomb of Chaos who are going to be freed in the finale as a cliffhanger, leading to Charmed Ones versus Charmed Ones for season 4. That would be very interesting.
Yes, that would be.
The thing I had, and it's kind of similar to what you were saying, Robert, is that I don't think it's going to be necessarily them coming out of the tomb. I do think that the Charmed Ones will meet up with the past Charmed Ones. I do think that's going to happen. I think the past Charmed Ones actually are going to help them. I don't think it's going to be a versus. I think the past Charmed Ones are going to help them. And I think we may be seeing another connection to how they brought Marisol back. Mm-hmm. There may be a harking back to that spell and bringing back the Charmed Ones who passed on somehow, to be able to talk to them and get their help on how to vanquish or to maybe get a little bit more insight about the Perfecti. I do see that. I do think the other past Charmed Ones will help our Charmed Ones in defeating the Perfecti. That's my prediction for that. In terms of ships, I don't think Harry's going to end up giving up his powers. I think something's going to happen when Macy has to maybe become immortal. Since this isn't a vampire show, she won't become a vampire. But maybe with her demon side, there may be something that makes her immortal. Or maybe it's just something they decide not to have Harry do, and they just kind of try to be a regular couple as a white lighter and a witch for at least season 4. I do see Jordan coming back. I see him and Maggie doing something, but I see it happening at the end of this season. I do see Jordan coming back because he has become a fan favorite, and I don't think they're going to let that go just yet. And the whole thing with if Poppy stays, if Abigail stays around, I think we're going to get an Abigail and Mel relationship. I don't think Mel and Ruby are long for this. So I just don't see Abby and Ruby I don't think Mel and Ruby are long for the ship world in that regard, but I do see Abigail and Mel being something. And Liliana, you actually make a really great point. An LGBTQ character dying might sort of play into the bury your gays trope, which wouldn't be good. The BYG, the bury your gays trope, we've seen it in other things. You have a character who is part of the LGBTQ community and they die. You know, they get killed somehow and they don't get to have the happy ending and things like that. And I agree. I just think that would be too predictable. And I don't want that or need that, especially when it's my ship. I want Abigail and Mel together and I don't want half of them to die. I ship this couple. I want to see it on screen. So yeah, but let us know, y'all. We're wrapping up because, it's been over an hour and this has been such a great hour or so in talking to you all. But let us know, keep the conversation going in the comment section. I want to know y'all theories and predictions. Do you agree with the predictions that I made, that my mom made? And which ships are you for? What ships do you want to see more of in season 4? What ships do you hope actually sell, and which ones are you thinking are going to sink? Let me know. Comment down below. And once again, if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, please do. And we got a couple more seasons left, y'all, and a couple seasons. Hopefully got a good amount of seasons left, but we got a couple more episodes left of this season. So things are finally starting to pick up in various ways. So I guess things are going to culminate. So I guess we'll see where it goes in the next 4 or 5 episodes. But until then, Have a great rest of y'all week, y'all. Thank you all so much also for joining us on a day we don't normally do. So many of you still turned up for this live, and that's awesome. You are appreciated.
Yes.
Always love talking to all of you in the chat who,
thank you for showing up.
Yeah. And thank you so much for that. So until next time, have a great rest of your week and be safe and be blessed. See you guys.
Be blessed.